Alright, good evening everyone. So this is the session I did in Singapore this year, right? Had a good crowd, and most of them were new to SharePoint development, right? So you must be wondering why I do SharePoint related stuff in .NET Forum. So it's not really a SharePoint related session, so I'm not going to do any SharePoint development, and I'm not going to talk about SharePoint. I'm just going to talk about from the Visual Studio perspective, right? What are the enhancements? Because I know there is a big crowd now, increasing crowd in Sri Lanka for SharePoint, right? SharePoint development, not like those days. Okay, so let's quickly go through the agenda. And again, I have very few slides as usual. So me and Fikri are not fan of slides, right? So I'm going to talk about first what are the key investments areas in SharePoint 2013, right, from 2010 to 2013, and what's SharePoint place in Office platform, because Office and SharePoint goes together. So it's kind of new era now. We shy away from desktop apps. We talk a lot about Office and web apps. Again, within web, we talk a lot about SharePoint apps, since Microsoft is investing heavily in SharePoint technologies and platform. So we are going to talk about what's new for, finally this is the more important area, what's new for SharePoint developers in Visual Studio 2012. And I know most of you know about me, so I'll skip that slide. So what are the key investment areas in SharePoint 2013? First is improve user experience. Okay, so before I get into details, can I see how many of you are already into SharePoint development? Okay, very few, good. How many of you use Visual Studio 2010 for any sort of development? Okay, how many of you have started using Visual Studio 2012? That's good. Okay, so how many of you are planning or interested, people who didn't raise for my first question, how many of you are planning to move from standard .NET development to SharePoint development? Okay, good, right? So it's a mixed crowd. So what are the improvements in SharePoint 2013, or what are the key investment areas? So number one is improved user experience. So that's why SharePoint is becoming very popular day by day, right? So Microsoft is investing a lot in user experience, because user experience is, at the end, user experience is the one, going to basically differentiate from solution A to solution B, and that's one of the key differentiator when you sell your solutions into customers, right? So no matter how complex algorithms are there behind the scene, if it is not user friendly, right, end users will not buy it. And if end users are not agreeing, no matter how powerful is your CIO, right, he's not going to sell the product to your organization, right? So that's the concept, because at the end, no matter, even though we like it or not, right, I know as developers we hate customers, right, especially customer conversations, requirements gathering conversations and all of that, right? But still, customers are good. Okay, so that's why they are improving. They have improved a lot. We have Office web applications, and this is very important of apps for Office. So guys, now you're going to develop against Office. So then you may be thinking, yes, Office development's been there for a while. We remember Visual Studio 2008 also had something called Visual Studio Tools for Office. Some people call it VSTO, VSTOA, right? Whatever it is, but it was different. But this time they have introduced a brand new concept called apps, developing apps for Office products like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. And we have a lot of social networking and translation, work management. Those are SharePoint specific things which I'm not going to talk in detail. For you, the interesting thing would be here, as far as improved user experience concerned, from Office and SharePoint point of view, as a developer, is apps for Office, right? So that's a new opportunity for you to go and explore, and you can start developing apps, and you can basically take your apps to apps market, right? You can even make money. And there are some core capabilities in 2013. I'm not going to talk about those, right? And also lifecycle management. There are key enhancements, new features like SharePoint Marketplace. So as I explained earlier, you can introduce your apps right into SharePoint Marketplace. So you can have actually 2 levels of SharePoint apps, right? Marketplace. One is at the organization level, so which is called corporate marketplace, right? Apps marketplace, which is normally a place which contains apps or solutions you develop within the corporate, within the organization. And also you have a public marketplace where anybody can develop an application and put it in marketplace. So either your organization, or you can, maybe it is a paid app or maybe a free one, so you can download and you can start using within your organization. So this is again an area that you can target, corporate app catalog marketplace. So these are some of the key enhancements in SharePoint. So if you look at if you look at the SharePoint's place in Office platform, Office and SharePoint, so you see it's an integrated product, right? You have tight integration with clients like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, and you have tight integration with Exchange, Office Web Apps, and Office Web Apps is going to be a separate product. It is a separate product now from 2013, so there is a developer opportunity for you there, right? If you look at from the developer's perspective, right, what are the investment areas for developer? So these are the 6 key investment areas if you are going to spend your life as a SharePoint developer, right? As I explained, you have apps and the cloud app model, right? You can get started with developing apps, and Office and SharePoint App Store, right? And SharePoint client-side object model is an enhanced object model given for you guys. SharePoint server-side object model is again enhanced a lot, and you have workflow. Workflow is brand new, right? Because workflow was introduced in .NET Framework 3.0, right? So from 3.0 to 3.5, nothing changed, drastically. It's just, they introduced 2 new activities, but they didn't do any enhancements or re-engineering in the underlying platform or platform, because they had a very long, a project plan. They wanted to re-engineer Workflow Foundation, so they did that, and they released the re-engineered version of Workflow Foundation with the .NET Framework 4.0, right? So that's what we use in SharePoint 2013. Workflows are separated now. Workflows will not run as part of the SharePoint process or as part of your normal W3 worker process. Workflows will run in a separate process, right? So it's brand new. There are a lot of enhancements, and we have Access is something no one really cared, right? During past few years, everyone moved from Access to SQL, but again, Microsoft investing a lot on Access and together with SharePoint. So there will be a lot of developer opportunities for you, bringing Access services related applications or Access services based applications into your organization, right? So I think I did some time back, a long time back, I did a session around Access services. Can't remember whether here or in India. I think I did a session, so if you want I can share the slide deck. So it's a new area for you to look at. So coming back to Visual Studio, right? So people who really use Visual Studio today for developing applications for say SharePoint 2007, we call it MOS 2007, or Visual Studio SharePoint 2010, right? So they may be interested to learn, okay, what's there in 2012, right? So when you're going for SharePoint 2007, or let's say MOS 2007, Visual Studio, at that time we had Visual Studio 2008, right, did not do a lot compared to ASP.NET, right? So I remember we spend time cursing ASP.NET guys, SharePoint guys at Microsoft, especially the people who are responsible for Visual Studio enhancement, because all the ASP.NET project guys who do ASP.NET, they could create the project, drag and drop controls, and go to code and code, press put a breakpoint, and then press F5 and step in, debug, and then deploy. They had all these fantastic capabilities in Visual Studio 2008, but not for SharePoint, right? We had all these features for ASP.NET and Windows-based development, but not for SharePoint. So the question we had, okay, now Microsoft says SharePoint is a product on top of ASP.NET, so why can't we do this? Because SharePoint was a product actually integrated with a lot of other areas. So it was, again, we had two different production lines for SharePoint and Visual Studio. They never, in line, right, in terms of the timeline. So when Microsoft released was 2007, Visual Studio was not, integrated to SharePoint development, and we had to go for third-party tools like WSP Builder, BDC MetaMan to develop applications for most 2007. So they did a good job when they released SharePoint 2010, right? Because when they released SharePoint 2010, actually SharePoint 2010 was released 2009 December. 2010 April, Microsoft released Visual Studio 2010. So when they released Visual Studio 2010, they had bunch of project templates and capabilities for SharePoint development, and it was way better than what we had in Visual Studio 2008 for most 2007, right? But we still had some problems. We still use couple of third-party tools, and also some of the features we got in 2010, Visual Studio 2010 was not really realistic stuff, right? So we didn't use some of those things, right? So that's why Microsoft did a lot of enhancements in Visual Studio 2012 for SharePoint development, right? So so we'll go one by one. What is actually new and enhanced, right, in Visual Studio 2012 for SharePoint development. So these are very high level, right? I'm not going to actually demo everything, but I'm going to explain each and every point so you can try these things out, right? So very first thing, good news is now Visual Studio 2012 supports multi-targeting. In other words, it supports developing against SharePoint 2013 as well as SharePoint 2010, right? So that's the beauty. So just like for any other thing, Visual Studio 2012 will not convert your project types from a solution or project file from 2010 to 2012, right? So even if it is a standard ASP.NET project, you can actually work in both the versions, Visual Studio 2010 as well as 2012. Right? So they're going to go with that same approach, because that's a nice thing. So you don't have to load two different versions. So if you are a guy who's doing SharePoint 2010 development, then Visual Studio 2010, and for 2013 Visual Studio 2012, right? So you don't want to do that. Just like we did in MOS 2007 and SharePoint 2010. If you look at Visual Studio 2010, SharePoint development tool supported only SharePoint 2010. It did not support the prior version, right? So you had to have multiple versions of. We go through that same horrible experience, right? In my place, when one guy moved from 2007 project to 2010, and when he moved from 2010 to 2007 again, he ended up formatting the system and installing these set of different tools again and again, right? So which is really a difficult exercise. So that's why Microsoft said, okay, this version onward, we are going to provide multi-target capability. So if you have Visual Studio 2012 installed, you can do SharePoint 2010 project, right? You can do even SharePoint 2013 development. So that's the beauty. But we still do not have the capability of doing SharePoint development without installing SharePoint. So still it's not there. So if you want to do SharePoint development, you still need to load SharePoint locally in your laptop or desktop. So that's that limitation is still there. So what is new? So streamlined SharePoint project template. So that's something introduced in SharePoint Visual Studio 2012. I think folks who know who already use Visual Studio 2010 for SharePoint 2010 development, they know that when they open up, when they go to Visual Studio and when they say file new project, you get 12 templates, right? You get 12 templates in file new dialog box. Let me show you quickly. I have a screenshot, right? We have around 12 templates. So we actually ended up training when Microsoft released beta version of Visual Studio 2010. We praised all these 12 templates. Said, oh, now you can do visual web paths and sequential workflows, state machine workflows, event receivers, blah 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 blah, right? But over the past 2 years, we realized we actually don't use all these templates. Some of the templates don't make sense. Okay, so a majority of the majority of the SharePoint development exercises, projects started with empty SharePoint project and then evolved by adding other project and item templates. Right, so Microsoft realized based on the feedback they collected from customers and MVPs and partners and tap a program, they realized that some of these project templates doesn't make sense, right? So that's why they basically streamline these project templates. They reduced the 12 project templates into 5 in Visual Studio 2012, right? So they make sense. Okay, so I'm going to actually go with the demo because I need to manage my time. I'm going to show you some of these things. Okay, people who haven't seen SharePoint 2013, you see this. People who have not seen SharePoint 2013, so they can see. I just open it up just in case if I wanted to show something. So this is my Visual Studio 2012, right? And one more thing you need to be aware: when you install Visual Studio 2012, by default you will not get SharePoint development tool, right? So what you need to do is, I hope most of you are familiar now with a tool called Microsoft Web Platform Install. Have you heard about that? Right, so that's the way Microsoft now pushing new things to you guys. So you need to use Microsoft Web Platform Installer, and then you need to search for SharePoint, and then it will give you SharePoint and Office Development Tool for Visual Studio 2012, right? So you need to download that and install. And not only that, to get better experience, Visual Studio 2012 Update 2 is available now. So that's the concept now. They are actually going to send updates very often, right? So you can download Update 2 and you can install, so even enhance the SharePoint development experience for you guys. So I have Visual Studio 2012 with Update 2, and just for your information, Update 3 also in the pipeline, right? So don't tell anyone. So Update 3 will come very soon. Because it's under NDA still. Right? So now when you go to new project here in Visual Studio 2012, you get the new project dialog box, and let me go to C#, and you will see you have Office development, right? You can do Office 2010 development, and then you have SharePoint 2010 development. So I have only 2010 because I did not install 2013 templates. Right? So if you look at, so if you have, when you install 2013, you get same 5, right? Again here, it will be, it says SharePoint 2013 project and SharePoint 2013 Silverlight and SharePoint 2013 Visual Web Part, like that. Right? So if you look at now, we have only 5 project templates, which is the commonly used one, SharePoint 2010 project. This is basically equivalent to empty SharePoint project. So most of the big projects start with this solution. Right? That's how, 99.99 in my life, right? We always start with SharePoint 2010 empty project, right? And then we add projects or other item templates depending on the requirement. And then we have Silverlight web part project, right? So which will integrate Silverlight and SharePoint web parts in a better way compared to 2010. And then we have Visual Web Part project to create visual web parts. and then we have these two. First one is to import SharePoint solution packages and create a new project, right, based on that, or on top of that. And this one is import reusable SharePoint workflows from SharePoint Designer. So these two were there in the previous version also, this Silverlight thing is something new has come into the picture. We had Visual Web part also in previous release, and we had the Inti project in previous release as well. So now you see the number of project templates have gone down, right, into less than 50% now, and it's very focused, right? So you can always start with the empty SharePoint project, and you can keep on adding other things, right? Right. So the next one, what I want to show you is next thing what I want to talk about in terms of new features and enhanced features is creating list and content types using new designers, right? So SharePoint actually is a very painful. SharePoint development is a very painful exercise when it comes to developing solutions from the scratch, because SharePoint solutions always uses a data model behind the scene, which is a list or library, right? So these list or libraries are actually a collection of content types and site columns, right? So most of the time we go with a bad approach of creating list and libraries, content types and site columns using browser or designer, and then we go into Visual Studio and we develop the web part or event receiver or whatever it is. Which is a bad approach, because why I would say bad, it's easier and faster, you don't have to learn anything. But it actually, is not a redistributable solution. Meaning, if you're developing in your laptop or your desktop, when you're going to deploy it to customers in an environment, you need to manually go and recreate those content types, site columns, list and libraries. Okay? So that's why we always recommend, when you are building a solution, all the items related to your solution, including columns, content types, list and libraries, you need to create inside the Visual Studio. Right? So creating a site column or a content type or a list or library in Visual Studio, that is not that easy, because you need CAML, right? So you're not writing any .NET code, you're writing CAML. CAML stands for Collaborative Application Markup Language, which is a XML, right, form of XML, and it has to be well formed, and it's very say detailed, right? So in order to create one column, you need to provide number of properties. In order to create a content type, you need to provide number of properties in that XML. Fortunately, you get the IntelliSense, but it's not a very, it doesn't do any compile time checking or anything. So that's why we have designers, right? So in Visual Studio 2012, you have designers, just like the way you design web pages by dragging and dropping controls. You get a designer, and you can go and graphically design your content type. You can tell what columns you want. You have the drop downs, you have the check boxes and everything, right? So let me try to show you. And the other one is creating site columns again, right? Same thing. You can easily create in Visual Studio 2012. And the other one is creating Silverlight web parts. So in 2010, if you want to get Silverlight integrated, you have to do a lot of stuff manually. What you need to do is, first you need to get a solution to develop your Silverlight component. And then you need to get the Silverlight component, basically again you get a zap file, right? Deploy it over to a special location in SharePoint 2010 called client bin directory, right? And then you need to load that within another web part, right? You need to design another web part, and then you need to provide all the parameters, and you need to give the location of this zap file, and you need to load it. But if you look at 2012, we don't have to do anything manually. You can create a project using that project type. Right? You can create a project. So it creates a Silverlight project to do your Silverlight component, plus a wrapping web part for you automatically, right? So you get a container web part project as well. And when you deploy, it will automatically deploy your web part, Silverlight that file into the right location, and your web part also will be deployed to the web part gallery. Right? So that's another enhancement when it comes to SharePoint development. So this is again interesting, but I wish this could have been a completed one, because right now for me it's incomplete, right? Publishing SharePoint solutions to remote SharePoint servers. So as SharePoint developers, we always have a challenge, and we are very unlucky compared to ASP.NET developers when it comes to deployment. ASP.NET guys can develop in their local box, right? And when they are ready to deploy to QA environment or staging or whatever it is, they just get a release build. They can go to Visual Studio and they can go to they can right click the solution. They can say either publish or copy web, right? They have lots of options to deploy your project, right? You need only the FTP username and password when you are deploying to another environment. Okay? So you have lots of options when it comes to ASP.NET, but we can't do that in SharePoint, right? In SharePoint, when you are done with your development and all that, you need to get the WSP file, which is the deployment unit. You need to manually copy over to your QA or staging or whatever that environment, and then you need to deploy using PowerShell, right? Visual Studio does not help any deployment to a remote location. Visual Studio will help you to deploy only to current, or your local box, local environment. So what Microsoft did in Visual Studio 2012, they enable remote deployment. They call it as publish, right, and upgrading facility as well for SharePoint solutions. But unfortunately, this is available only for sandbox solutions. So SharePoint 2010 onward, we have two types of solutions: farm solutions and sandbox solutions. So right now it supports only sandbox solutions. I believe, I still do not know, I believe they will have this feature for farm solution as well. Because if you look at the sandbox solution versus farm solution, we do lots of farm, very few sandbox solutions, especially when it comes to SharePoint Online, right? And this is again a very interesting addition. So I think you had a lot of sessions, Chaminder and I think someone did a lot of sessions around ALM side, testing and all of that, right? So this testing features in Visual Studio was great, right? So they really help when it comes to ASP.NET development. But for SharePoint, testing was always manual. So that's why normally when we give project estimates to customers, usually our testing effort is more than the development, because we test everything manually, right? We test everything manually, and the other problem is when it comes to performance, because SharePoint is a product utilize a lot of hardware resources. Right? For SharePoint 2013, we're talking about minimum 16 GB memory for production, minimum 8 for development. Right? It has doubled from 2010 to 2013. So performance being a very key thing when it comes to SharePoint solutions. So most of the time, customers complain, okay, we expected like 1 second page response, but it's taking more than 1 second, right? So you tell us why it's slow. I want you to optimize the performance, blah blah blah. So if we had a way, if we had a tool set in early releases to before we put the solution into the production environment, to do a performance testing or profiling, right? So then we could have addressed most of the issues. So now in Visual Studio 2012, what you can do is you can actually enable performance testing. You can basically do profiling, right? You can test the performance and it will generate reports just like for ASP.NET. It will analyze and it will give you reports, so you can go ahead and fix if there are any issues in your performance issues in your environment. And the other one is the other enhancements when it comes to SharePoint development in Visual Studio is enabling sandbox capabilities for visual web parts, right? So most of the project we develop today, or most of the web parts we develop today are based on visual web parts, but unfortunately they support only farm solutions. But there are, as I told you, especially say SharePoint Online doesn't support farm solutions. You need to go for sandbox solutions. So then we had to go for a different web part item called web part without a visual, without a graphical designer. So they call it visual web part because this uses a user control behind the scene. We have a graphical designer, right? So we ended up using a web part item, item template without a graphical user interface if we wanted to do SharePoint Online development. But now in SharePoint, in Visual 2012, right, even for SharePoint 2010, if you want to do a sandbox solutions with a visual web part so that you can reduce your time for designing and all that, you have the capability in 2012, right? And the other one is better intelligence support in sandbox solutions. So people who have done sandbox solutions, they know that Sandbox actually provides only a subset of object model in SharePoint Server object model. We can't do everything. We get access to limited set of objects, right? But we often do a mistake, especially people who are coming from farm development to Sandbox. They always forget that Sandbox is a limited environment, so they always try to refer some assemblies and classes and methods and properties which are not available in Sandbox, right? Only available in farm solutions. And sometimes Visual Studio 2010, right? Even though Microsoft said in 2010, when they released 2010, it will actually warn you, but in some scenarios it didn't. Basically, its IntelliSense was not that great in Visual Studio 2010 when it comes to Sandbox. You ended up using some class libraries which are not supported, and you deploy it, then you try to access, and then you get error. Finish, right? But in 2012, if you are going for Sandbox development, right? IntelliSense is very smart, right? It's not going to allow you, right, at any, in any scenario, it's not going to allow you to use any class libraries or let's say DLLs, or let's say namespaces, classes, methods which are not available in Sandbox environment, which are not supported for Sandbox solutions. So last one is better support for JavaScript debugging and IntelliSense for JavaScript, right? So JavaScript is a technology most of us did not like to write, did not like to use, and most of us thought, okay, JavaScript is just a scripting language, is running in browser, limited capabilities. So most of us try to write server-side code, C#, VB.NET, because we have full power and it runs in server. We can do anything, right? But now industry has changed, right? So future will be a lot of JavaScripts in your application, right? So people talk about Windows 8 apps and mobile Windows mobile apps, and we talk about SharePoint apps, right? We talk about responsive designs with HTML5 and CSS3. So now trend is giving writing limited number of server-side code, and giving more power to browser, giving more power to end users, desktop. Basically enabling a lot more JavaScript functionality, so that when we write a lot of JavaScript, especially if you're going to write a SharePoint 2010 or 2013 or Office applications, if you're going to develop a lot on 2010 and 2013, right, you'll end up writing a lot of JavaScript and you'll end up getting stuck, right? Not being able to capture the error, right? Because limited debugging support in your tool and less IntelliSense, right? So you have to always go to internet, do Bing or Google or whatever it is to get the sample, and then you adjust it. So in Visual Studio 2012, you have powerful debugging support for JavaScript file, and you have better IntelliSense, right? So that's basically these are the items, these are the things in Visual Studio 2012 for SharePoint developers. So basically, the conclusion is, right, you will have first class development experience for SharePoint developers as well. So not like in MOS 2007 development, not like even SharePoint 2010, right, with Visual Studio 2010. So when you go to Visual Studio 2012, right, for both SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013, you get the first class development experience just like ASP.NET. So there are a few other areas to improve, so that's why Microsoft keep pushing as updates, right? So there are some enhancements, especially for this performance testing area. There are some enhancements in update 2, right? So that's why we always encourage to get the latest update and apply on top of your Visual Studio. Okay. So that's basically conclude my session. Let me see whether. Okay. So yeah, I have reinstalled templates. There's a good crash after I applied update 2. And I have the CTP of update 3, which is causing some issues. Okay, so that's it basically. So it sounds few, right? It sounds few, but there are a lot more productivity features, productivity gain when it comes to SharePoint development right, using Visual Studio 2012, right? Okay. So that's it. I actually wanted to get started with this because I will be running few more sessions around because I didn't cover the app development part, right? So I'm planning to cover a few of the sessions. I'm planning to do a few sessions on Office app development and SharePoint app development, which can be a extra revenue for you guys. So you can always try to get some good apps around app catalog, right? So what I want you to do is if you guys have not done any SharePoint development or Office development, or if you haven't used Visual Studio 2012, right, it's time for you to get started. Set up a SharePoint 2010 or 2013 would be great, along with Office 2013, along with Visual Studio 2012, right? And play around with the tool. So I have also started writing a few blog posts around these new features, new capabilities, with some screenshots and all that. So for the people who do not have development environment set up, but they can at least go through with the screenshots and they can stay up to date and they can understand very well, especially when it comes to upcoming sessions, right? So I'm planning to cover a few series of things from the Visual Studio point of view, not really SharePoint related things, but SharePoint plus Visual Studio, because there's a huge market, right? There's a huge market for SharePoint developers, and if you're planning to move, it's right time to move, because even we have trouble hiring people and we bring people from other countries, right? Because there's a huge opportunity and there's a huge vacuum also in SharePoint, right? So you guys need to stay up to date because I'll tell you, Visual Studio next release, CTP is already out, right? It's only for MVPs. Do not tell others, okay? So very soon they are going to give it for you guys as well. So you need to try as much as features in 2012 before we get the next release in another about 1.5 years. Okay. So any questions? People who have specially do SharePoint development, even for people who want to move for SharePoint development. Any questions around Visual Studio capabilities for SharePoint development? Any questions?
I'm Salmani, working as a senior software engineer. So what I'm going to talk about today is I will be talking about some debugging tips and tricks where we can use. So this will not be a very techy session. So I will be going through some tools available in Visual Studio. Some of the tools are available in 2010 as well. So this is not a specific session on 2012. It's a session where I found some interesting tools available in Visual Studio to make our lives easier when we debug the code. So whatever software practices we use, where we do TTD, unit testing or whatever, the debugging is a major part of the development life cycle of software. So when it comes to debugging, so it's very time consuming, sometimes very annoying, very complex. So if we use these tools, tips and tricks available in Visual Studio, we can make our lives easy. So we'll see what are those tools in Visual Studio. So these are things that I'm going to discuss. So we'll see what are the tooling choices available in Visual Studio and what are the core debugging features available and the intertrace. Anyone use intertrace in Visual Studio? It was available in 2010 as well. Okay. So intertrace is something it allows developers to record the application execution and play it back. Now suppose we using traditional debugging, so we debug the code in traditional way. If we want to go back and see what are the variable values in the execution stack, it's difficult because in traditional debugging execution stack, it gives a limited set of data in the execution stack. But if we use this intertrace, it gives a lot of options for us to go back in the time It's like debugging historical data. We can get the historical data of the debugging stack. So I will be discussing this intertrace in detail, and we'll do some demos as well, so you can understand. So what actually debugging is? So as you all know, debugging is a process of locating and fixing bugs in a piece of code. So when it comes to processing and locating where this actual bug is, sometimes it's very difficult to find where the actual bug is. We spend hours and hours to find where the actual bug is. So we'll see what are the tips and tools available in Visual Studio. So these are the features available in Visual Studio for us to use and make our debugging easier and faster. So breakpoint labeling is available where we can filter the breakpoints, group the breakpoints as we want. Then we can import and export breakpoints. And we can have conditional breakpoints. Suppose we have a for loop to debug. So suppose we know on the 10th record where the issue is coming. But if we are using the traditional debugging, what we do is F10, F10, F10 for 10 times and come to the actual location and do the debugging. So using the conditional breakpoints, we can set a condition to the breakpoint saying that when this variable is equal to this amount, hit the breakpoint. Otherwise, it will not hit the breakpoint. So also there is another option called breakpoint hit count. So in the breakpoint hit counts, we can see how many times this method is being called by the other methods. And also using the hit count, we can set conditions to the breakpoint. Based on hit count, this means when the method is hit on this number of counts, then the breakpoint will fire. Then there's another new option called pinnable data types. I will show what is this pinnable data types are in the demo, and we can import and export those data types. Then profile is available to see to debug the performance issues, and they have improved the debugger canvas as well. Okay, now in Visual Studio, as you all have noticed, there's a new feature as quick launch where you can search the tools available in Visual Studio. So whatever tools available in Visual Studio, you can just type it, so it will search the paths for you. So if I type debugging, so it will show what are the menus available related to this debugging, options available. So if I go to this debugging general, there's an option called enable just my code. This is available in 2010 as well. So what does is, if we enable this just my code option in this debugging general options, it will show the stack for our code only. It will not. If suppose you are using third-party DLs, so methods called from those third-party DLs will not come into the method stack. So I will do a demo to show how this method stack will show when we enable and disable this option. So I keep this as it is. So I have my calculator sample Windows app here. So I'll debug it. So as you can see, it says external code. Here you can see the call stack. It says external code, my entry point, then again external code, and the division button click. So if we want to see what are the third-party DLS or system DL methods has been called during our execution, what you can do is go to debugger general options, disable this. Okay. Then again debugger. So you can see whole lot of method calls have been recorded in the call stack now. So if I enable my code, just my code only, what I can see is the method calls inside the program that we have written only. So in a case we want to debug and see, it's not actually debugging. If we want to see what are the methods have been called in the third-party DLs or the system DLs, what we can do is we can disable it just my code only option, and we can see what other methods have been called, what other events have been called during the until we hit this breakpoint. And there's another option called what I call there's we can label the breakpoints, we can add conditional breakpoints. So we'll see how we can label the breakpoints and what are the advantages we can gain from labeling breakpoints. So suppose I have 2 breakpoints here. So what I can do is I can right click this breakpoint and click edit label. So I can add, suppose this breakpoint is available for the division method. So I add division and click OK. So if I want to see my breakpoints available in this program, I can just click breakpoints here and use breakpoints. So you can see this labels have been there added to the breakpoint. So what I can do is, suppose we are doing a debugging and we can group the breakpoints. So when we have whole lot of breakpoints inside the program, so when we are debugging to find the issue in a particular module, this whole lot of breakpoints will get hit. So using this labeling, what we can do is we can group the breakpoints, and using this filtering option, we can enable or disable the breakpoints what we need as we need. So suppose I click type division here. So the breakpoints available for those label only will get listed. So I can disable or enable but the breakpoints for that group only. So when we debug the code, the breakpoints which we need to be hit to find that particular bug will get hit. So we don't want to press F5 or attempt to pass whatever unnecessary breakpoints hit to find a particular bug. And the other thing is the conditional breakpoint. So suppose I put a breakpoint here, and I can add conditions. So I can add whatever conditions here for the breakpoint. So if I put this call inputs input equal 0. And so I want to get this breakpoint hit when the user enters 0 for the input 2. So then when I debug, if I put 100, 10, divide, only the first debug point will be hit. The second debug point will not hit as I add a condition when to hit the breakpoint when the input is 0 only. So if I put 0 here, and if I just remove this breakpoint and hit debug, so that then the breakpoint will hit. So this is very useful when we debugging the loop kind of thing. So we can set the breakpoint to hit when the this variable is equal to some count or something. The other thing is hit count. So if I just have a breakpoint here, and there's a menu item as hit count, so I can see the hit count. So normally when we stop the debugging, its hit count is 0, but hit count is only for a session of debugging. So there are options available for the hit count as well. Break always, break when hit count is equal to this amount, or multiply greater than number. So you can set whatever the conditions for the hit count. So the breakpoint will hit as per your preference. And the other option is this data tips. So suppose I want to debug and see my division method. When I take my mouse here, I can see what is the input value is. So there is a small option here where I can create a data tip on this. So I can label whatever name I want here. I can keep wherever we want that in the code, and I put another data type in for my input too as well. So it shows the current values. So the advantage of this one is when we debug again, we don't want to take the mouse for the variables, so we can see the values from this data type. That's very useful because we don't have to go and find each and every variable what the values are. So the data type shows the values for those variables where we have put the data types. So they show these small data type icons where we can see the data types are available. Even you stop your debugging, those icons are available. Even you can't see it, those will appear when you debug the code only. And you can import and export these breakpoints and data types. Why it is important is, suppose you do a debugging, you add conditional breakpoints based on hit count, then data types. So normally these breakpoints, data types are for your workspace only. So suppose you want to share that with someone in your team, so you can export the breakpoints, you can export the data types, and that person can get, that is a small XML file get exported, so that person can import it, and those breakpoints and data types will be created in their workspace as well. So we'll see how we can export it. There's an option called export all breakpoints. I remove my breakpoints from here, and I try to import the same thing. So the breakpoints were created in my PC as well. This is very important when you work in a team environment, so you can share these conditional breakpoints, data types as you have used when you do the debugging, and you can share with the team. We'll see what this interface is. It's kind of a time machine where we can travel through time and get the debugger information, where how this method has been executed, what are the values have been passed, what are the methods have been called, and where it actually get failed. So this kind of thing. Suppose we are debugging a code in traditional way. So sometimes we have this try-catch. We have try-catch blocks inside the method. So if we have the try-catch blocks, if we don't have the breakpoints on those methods, and if we somehow bypass those methods, we can't actually find where the actual error occurred. Right? So in that case, what we have to do is we have to again debug the code and see where the actual bug occurred, where the actual issue occurred. So by this Intel trace, what we can do is we can see all the stack, the history of the stack, and we can go by one by. It has option like playing back, like going backwards and going forward, and see what are the values being passed. So the Intel trace is mainly targeted for developers who's using Visual Studio. Intel trace is mainly for the managed code, not for the code like Silverlight and Metro Style Labs. Still, it's not available in Visual Studio. Is Intel trace, and also for the testers, means QA engineers who use this test manager. So it gives us. It gives them ability to give us more detailed error on what they have done and what actually happened. So there are so many instances where QA come and says us, okay, we did this and this has occurred and it can be regenerated. And when we try to do it, and we say it's not regenerated in the developer's machine. And what we do is we fix a bug as cannot regenerate it. When we go and deploy the client machine, got crashed. So we don't want to have that kind of things happen. But using Intel trace, using this when the QA engineers using this test manager, what they can do is they can enable Intel trace inside the test manager, and they can record whatever they did, the step by step what they have did. And when the bug occurred, Intel trace log will be automatically attached to that bug, and a recording will be attached to that bug. So when developer comes, developer can see a small video what actually the QA engineer has done step by step manually. And also we can see a trace log where we can open through the Visual Studio and we can see from where the code has been crashed, or where the code has been had issue. And also it supposes IT pros who support in managing applications, because now in Visual Studio 2012 they have introduced a feature called Interface Anywhere. So even you don't have Visual Studio installed in your production environment. So obviously we don't have Visual Studio installed in your production environment. So there is an option they have given. So Interface Anywhere, where we can enable interface inside the production environments as on our demand. And when even the system is on the production, if we enable it, we can generate a trace file when you use it. And whenever error occurs, we can take that trace file into our developer PCs, open that in Visual Studio, and we can see where the code gets breaked. Okay. So using Intel trace, there are kind of things we can collect. We can store the historical data. So there are mainly three types of things that we can collect using Intel trace. First thing is Intel trace events, like exceptions occurred, process data, and so and so. And also the method entry and exit calls. By default, what will be enabled is this Intel trace events. So if we want the Intel trace to have more detail, more rich content about the debugging information, we can enable this method entry exit calls. So then the Intel trace will record each and every method call that has been called during the execution of a particular function. And also it will store the debug point, breakpoints as well if we enable that as well. So these are the things get collected if we use intertrace when we are going in the production environment if we are using intertrace. So I'll do a intertrace demo. Suppose I don't have any breakpoints here, or I will use the things as well. So I go to quick launch, type intertrace. So as you can see, normally this has been enabled because I have checked it, but normally that by default it says intertrace events only. So what it will show is the exceptions occurred and during the and the process data. So if I just click this one and click OK, and I debug my program. And I do a division by 0. So it will show some full result. So you can see this intertrace window coming up. You can just break all. So all the events occurred throughout the execution will be recorded here. So you can go here. So it shows attempt to divide by 0, thrown divide by 0, so you can see the values. There's a local window, so you can see the values. So it gives the historical data of the call stack. So if I just stop it, if I want this method by method details to be recorded during my execution, what I do is debug, trace, enter the settings, and enable events and call information. So if I do so, I do the same thing here. Break call. So it says attempt to divide by 0. So you can see it gives some kind of a play option where you can go forward, you can play back, forward, option. So you can click on it, see. So it will go one by one. What are the steps being occurred during this function? So you don't have to re-debug the thing to find where the actual bug happened. So normally if you use traditional debugging, what we have to do, if we miss the place where the actual bug occurred, we have to re-debug the thing. So that's very time consuming. So if we have this intertrace enabled, and if we have all these things recorded, so we can go one by one and see what are the values passed and what are the methods being called during that execution. And also you can save this intertrace session if you want. So to report a bug or when you fix the bug to share with the team. So you can save it as well. So you'll have any issues until during this until now? What have you any questions? Any unclear areas that you didn't understand what I said? So intertrace for testers. As I told you, intertrace is targeting three main areas: the developers, testers, and the IT pros. So intertrace testers, as I told you, that is basically when we use the test manager. So So I'm sorry I'm unable to show you a test manager demo because I'm unable to connect to TFS right now, because if we are using test manager we have to have TFS. We have to connect to TFS and record the bugs, select whatever build, create test cases, run the test case, and we can report the bugs against that test case. So but I have some UIs. So using the test manager, when you go to test settings, so you have this intertrace option where you can enable that for your test cases. So if you enable that, then after when you are executing your test case, intertrace will automatically create an trace log for you. So whenever you report a bug, so that log will be automatically attached to that bug. So the developer can go and see where the actual issue happened. So when you create a bug, you can see this intertrace log will be attached. So when the developer log into the system, he can just open it and see what are the execution plan, how this execution happened, and where actually the code get breaked. And this is the execution intertrace summary where a developer can see. So he can open that intertrace file, so he can get something like this, and he can double click on whatever the method it has been occurred during this function, and the intertrace will open and show you the actual code of it. So I'll show a demo on this intertrace anywhere, because intertrace anywhere is, as I told you, when we have the application on the production environment, when clients come and say us it's not working, and sometimes it's not regenerating in the client's developer's environment, but it's generating in the client's environment. But in such a situation, as we don't have Visual Studio installed in client production environments, sometimes it's very difficult to find where the actual bug is happening. We have to put a lot of logs inside. We must have to use log4net, those whatever login mechanism to see where the bug is actually happening. So if we are using intertrace, we can easily get some rich content of the debugger where this actual bug is happening. So I have my sample web application. It's a very small application. I'll open the code and show you it doesn't have anything. So it has a page called test page, where I have one button click where user can input 2 inputs, and we convert that to double and make addition. But I haven't had any validations for those user controls. So what text boxes, so user can enter string or int or whatever to that text boxes. So I'm just showing it to show how we can capture the data during in a production environment. So I have host my application here. I browse it. So section okay. So what I can do is I can enable intertrace inside my production environment and get a intertrace log created. To do that, what you have to do is there is a tool available in Microsoft where you can download. Its name is Intertrace Collector. It's free, you can download it and download it and run it, extract it to a local folder of your production environment. So it will create these files inside those folder. And there are some Windows shell commands you can run to get this intertrace enabled. created the intertrace collector folder where I have this intertrace collector files, and I have created another folder called intertrace.files where I give the path on the PowerShell command to create the trace file in this particular location. So what should I first do is I have to import this intertrace PowerShell DLL into the PowerShell command prompt. So it's been imported. Then what I have to do is I have to give my IIS app pool user the permission to write the data into that particular folder. The intertrace log files is the folder I have created. So using this, I'll increase the font size. You can see it now. So this is the first command which I ran to import the PowerShell DLL to the intertrace to the PowerShell command prompt. Then the second one is I have to give my app pool user the grant to write the files into the particular location, so I can run this one. So it has successfully created. And the third one is what I have to do is start intertrace. This is my app pool name, my test app, and this is my folder where I have my intertrace collector, and this is my intertrace log file path, folder path. Okay, so I'll copy this, run it. We'll ask whether I have to whether I want to enable intertrace in this production environment or no. So if I put Y, so it will create. So after I enable that, then when I just go and browse my page again, and then we go to the log files. So my trace file will be created there. So in a production environment, what we can do is we can just copy it to the developer's machine and open it and see what is actually happening. What is actually happening. So I copy this. Next up. And I open it through Visual Studio. So it shows this format exception occurred. So you can see this intertrace summary. So if you double click it, so it will show you the actual code. Even you don't have the code open there, it will show the code and show you what are the steps being occurred during that execution of the method and where the actual bug occurred. So it gives some rich data of the issue occurred in the production environment. So into this intertrace, the IT professionals who manage the applications in the production environment can give more rich data to the developers. When an error occurred in the production environment, they can just download this trace file to the developer's machine. So developers have more rich data on where this error occurred. Rather be writing logs, log phonate or whatever, this gives more data about, because when we open it, it shows the real code. So that's all for the debugging tips. So if you have any questions, can ask. So those are some interesting small tips available in debugger where we don't use, even those are available in 2010 as well, these conditional breakpoints, labeling and things. So even those are there, we used to use this traditional debugging. So I think using these interesting tools like conditional breakpoints, hit counts, data tips, Intel trace, we can make our lives very easier when we do the debugging. So anyone has any questions on debug code? Anything not clear on which I explained? Nothing is clear.